Everybody for a crypto spiritual energy update here on May 24th, 2018, looking at the week ahead to 25th till 31st of May. You may find this curious here, the contextualization of energy work with the crypto market, but this is something that for us energy workers like myself. My name is Bryndis, by the way. I'm an energy healer and energy coach and a trainer for energy healers. Something that is quite normal. Okay, so when we go into coaching with people, whether it be abundance coaching or business coaching or personal coaching, we of course need to be able to contextualize the energies that are in that person with the energies that the person is surrounded by. And so if you will, these collective energies that I'm talking about here are the overall weather conditions, the overall collective weather conditions, and they play into different aspects of our life here in this particular focus that we have, the cryptocurrency market, namely as a very beautiful example for what we all know has started this disruptor technology, as it's often called, the grassroots movement of it. So the big shift here between, like, say, classical investments in the stock market or mutual funds and cryptocurrencies is now that it's based on open source, it's based on decentralization, it's based on taking out the middleman, and that allows everybody, literally anybody, to invest. And therefore the whole nature, the whole sort of dynamics in the cryptocurrency sphere is largely influenced by the sentiment, by the mood, by the energies that are affecting people's decision-making process. And so here in this crypto spiritual energy update, we're contextualizing these current collective energies for you and look at how they could affect the prices and so forth, investments that you're about to make here maybe in this next week. And yes, this is live, so I want to welcome all of you. Let me know what part of the world you're watching from. It's wonderful to have you here. Sorry for being a little late. I was running late with the collective energy update for anybody, for empaths and energetically sensitives that I just finished right now. And if you want to know more about some of the energy centers and the energy tips that I just briefly mentioned here, then please go back and watch the collective energy update, so that you get a bit more detailed information and where I take this confidence from to connect these two. Yes. And those of you who were just there in the collective energy update, notice that the barometer here, this gauge, this market sentiment gauge, is not the exact same. It's never really, barely ever, the exact same as the overall collective sort of energetic situation. And the reason for that is the different contextualization. So, if I'm looking at things that are coming in here for the next week, such as the revelation of truth, okay, on a world politics level, for instance, this can mean that there's a very shocking news, scandals and so forth, maybe even attacks. There's a lot of stuff like that going on, and that can send a ripple of fear through the entire collective. And that's something, of course, that on a personal level we all need to deal with. And so there I illuminated, what we can do, to stay more in our center and to not get caught in how we would normally, sort of contextualize those kind of things. Here, though, this can open up an opportunity. So when it comes to investment, when it comes to, like, observing the market segment, when, these kind of shifts can actually have a positive effect. Yes, and it is a crazy market, Gerald, I agree with you. We've seen a bit of a sideways movement here over the past month. Those of you who look at the cryptocurrency token prices every day or regularly may have noticed we are sort of back at the time from the mid-November, before this like enormous spike that came in at the end of November. So yeah, there's a lot of things that we have maybe malinvested, or that we have had hopes in, that lots of expectations, a lot of promises, a lot of, the market, as I said last week, is largely over promised, which means that there's a lot of expectation can also create disappointment. So there maybe is a little bit of disappointment for those of you who started investing in the crypto market here at the beginning of December, when the prices were at an all-time high and then dropped down, and are sort of going up and down. This volatility that we always talk about is still going on. So today we see a little bit more of a bullish, more of a green day, where everything is rising again. And we've illuminated this many times, how the market segment can shift from extremely positive, and suddenly all positive news coming all at once, and create a little bit of a hype here, and motivate people to buy into what is successful at the moment. And then the opposite can happen when FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt news come forward, and they also tend to cluster, that make people lose faith in it. And so we have through this volatility in this market that is literally unheard of, and also a very new thing that we all need to learn how to deal with. We have these sudden ups and downs, and here, just as an energy worker, just as it's needed for us, in our personal life, it's important that we, especially here for the next week, that we tune into the long-term vision. Okay, we need to understand what this is all about. Yes, and hi from Australia, hi from Ireland, from Australia, yes, from the United States. Good to have you guys here, and please feel free to ask questions or comment. And so, we're going through these ups and downs, and these different kinds of hypes. And then if this goes on for too long, it's kind of like with our own emotions, then we get burned out, and then we lose interest, and then we go somewhere else, maybe where we have faster gratification, or more sort of success. And this has been the case here for the last really since December. Strong ups and downs, and now in the last month is sort of a sideways movement that it feels kind of boring to people. Okay, so one of my fellow YouTubers, or I'm nowhere near as large as a followship here, but suggested to look at the Google statistics, as far as keywords, words that people type into Google. You can look this up, and it gives you a bit of an idea. So how strong people's interest is in Bitcoin. Use these keywords such as Bitcoin. Cryptocurrencies is a word that not everybody associative nature of it, and seeing that, okay, this is not only a way how, like, say, maybe the potential or very possible financial collapse, of fiat money that we've been feeling coming on for so long, how this can be hedged. This is also a way how, if we can tune into these energies, because now everybody has the same chance, basically, somewhat, not all the way, but to make good investments and maybe to double or triple their money, then this can be quite an exciting game. However, we are in the game here, and this is now happening more and more, especially since December. So this is really where the cryptocurrency space has shifted a little bit since December. We're getting all the financial institutions, we get sort of the classical investment money into the market, and of course there is a second factor now influencing the price of coins, not just the interest in the communities or the people like you and I, but also, of course, the manipulation that is possible through massive movements. All right, so the bottom line is it is not controllable. The price of cryptocurrencies is not controllable, and we can go in and do forecasts, we can do technical analysis, and we can sort of analyze and do research and and get a little bit of an overview of the lingo here, which I strongly recommend, especially here, for these coming weeks. But at the end of the day, there's a momentum there that has something to do with our intuition, guys. And I know it's kind of poo-pooed in the investment arena, okay? But there are actually studies that prove that people who can listen to their intuition alongside with their technical analysis or their mental analysis, that they do 20% better than people who just go by technical analysis. So there is a validity to our intuition, and you know this about me. I'm a big proponent here of people learning, their inner energetic language, and learning how to translate intuition, what's largely called intuition, into, sort of practical and also uplifting and positivity sort of tools or that can help them to increase their own vibratory rate, so that they can attract more money, so that they can attract more abundance, so that they can attract more health and better relationships, basically that they can attract more abundance on all levels of life, happiness and fulfillment. So we all have different reasons why we are attracted into this cryptocurrency game, okay? Many of the people that I saw arising here a couple of years back were the same people that I saw 35 years ago at the rise of internet. And this is really what sparked me. I was seeing these talents, these software developers that had really, really good and integrous ideas back in the days when sort of the internet bubble, when that all first came about. I see them resurfacing, and a much better chance now to actually implement this. However, I do want to point out that they also have critical thoughts in regards to blockchain technology and what is wanting or what is wanted to be accomplished with it, and also the dangers that come with it. So with every technology, with every new technology, there's also a danger, and we've experienced this here not too long ago with some of the revelations in regards to data management and data sharing, and the things that Facebook got basically caught at, like selling our personal data to companies that resell it for marketing purposes and so forth, that monetize our data. And so there is this movement or this idea here that with blockchain, if everything is based on this technology that allows for everything to be publicly seen, that a new level of trust occurs. And I can fully vouch this. I can see this too, especially the effects that it will have on our entire accounting paradigm. Okay, so there's a deeper aspects to blockchain technology than just the fact that it's somehow a fad. All right, so there are some things that can radically change the world. Not only that people who don't have access to certain banking systems or banking infrastructure or credit cards and stuff like that in certain parts of the world, I think the number is like 1 billion of eligible people in the world are unbanked. Okay, so yeah, that of course can help to reduce fees. It can help to reduce transfer times. Where we're working on implementing, sort of almost real-time, low or no fee a kind of technologies here on the blockchain that allows to transfer money or goods, instantaneously. Okay, those are all very nice ideas, but there's also, of course, the problem with the safety, the security, and the privacy. And so we see, of course, counter movements within this decentralized blockchain environment that centralizes certain data, that allows for privacy and so forth. So you've got to understand that this is a really big sort of ecosystem here that will have its own niches, and they will all have to work out, sort of synergetic ways of respecting people's privacy, of data safety, and of course the security and speed that is involved. So this is the equation here, okay? And we are still in the birthing stage. So the early adapters are just now, or maybe not quite, but starting to move in. So the overall acceptance rate of cryptocurrencies is roughly 1.7% at this very moment. So we're speaking of an early adapter movement in sort of the adaptation of new technologies when it reaches 2.5%. So we're not quite there yet, but most people actually have heard about Bitcoin, perhaps not about tokens or cryptocurrencies, don't really know what blockchain technology is, but there's a movements to its general acceptance, and I've called this the fourth industrial revolution before. So in my mind, there is absolutely no doubt, that this will be mainstream here in latest, 2 to 5 years. Okay, so we are at the birthing stage of something very new with a very great potential, but there's also dangers that come with that, and these dangers need to be processed within ourselves, because if we understand that there's a great opportunity here, if we embrace this, if we see the long term vision of this, but also see the things that need to be respected, the values that need to come in, that need to be propagated here, and I call this integrity, and that this needs to be a major part here of the overall development, then that can allow us then to make better decisions, investment decisions, decisions of whom we want to support. All right, and so as you all know, we've started doing this here, and people love it, is the integrity rating of tokens, exchanges, and ICOs, initial coin offerings. And this is something completely new. This is not a forecast, guys. This is an energetic measurement of whether this token, this exchange, or this ICO is based on truth. It gives you information about the integrity per se, and we've divided this into 3 categories. The actual token, the investment, and the people behind this, the team behind this, and the pull horses behind this. And then sort of the technology that they're using for this. And as you can imagine, this is a highly sort of, now what's the word? When it changes all the time, it's a very dynamic I think we're talking about software here. The software renewal cycle is 3 to 6 months. That's not like a production of an item, where it takes, about 1 or 2 years to build a new version of a product, so the adaptability is very high. And adaptability is the key word here for this whole market, but also for us as investors or supporters. Okay, so let's look at some of the collective energies, how they influence us as people, as people with emotions, with moods, with sentiments, and then let's look at how this can play out into like somewhat of a forecast here for next week, and then we're going to look at this week's integrity tests or integrity ratings. As an ICO, we have picked QUARKCHAIN, has a ICO coming up, is in private sales stage, but very close to actual ICO offering. And then as an exchange, we have picked Binance, one of the most popular exchanges for cryptocurrencies right now. And because Binance also has a token, just out of curiosity, I wanted to see how the exchange itself compares to the Binance token. So we can have a double integrity rating here for Binance as an exchange and as a token. And then as an independent token, we've picked SALT, and a blockchain-based lending platform. So this will be very interesting. And before we get to the energy centers and forecast and integrity rating, and know that we want you guys to tell us what kind of tokens you want us to test, you want us to rate. We get more requests, of course, than we can do. We are doing tests so on companies and tokens anyway, due to the the business coaching that we're doing, and due to the crypto staff or employment service that we have, where we try to help people, especially young people, in this new technology to find a good job. There was one token that was suggested by you last week, and that was SkyCoin. SkyCoin is very interesting because it provides a sort of decentralized internet solution here, which could be very, very interesting and sounds very integrous. And I was about to test this with the other testers that we have when I realized that there was an announcement from Binance that they're gonna list SkyCoin. And we talked about this last time, the hype that can occur when a new token is listed on a big exchange such as Binance. There's a bit of a hype that sets in, and as we illuminated last week, also the automatic trigger of trading bots, okay, which leads to a temporary hype, a temporary spike in the token price. And this is because this happened here 2 days ago. I excluded SkyCoin for this week from the integrity rating only because of that. Those of you who want to maybe ride those spike waves here through exchange listings should subscribe to the Twitters and the Telegram groups of these exchanges. I'm going to put the Telegram and the Twitter sign up here for Binance in the description. Yes, I agree with you. Substratum and SkyCoin, they go into the same direction. So let's look at the energy center. So even if this is all kind of, whatever, foreign language for you, just bear with me here for a second. I'm going to rush through this, okay? Each and every energy center in our body is kind of like a different place, where our energy sort of gets either contracted or expanded, that influences, certain aspects of our being, okay? And so we have as energy workers, a way of naming them. We say first, second, third chakra, and what we're really talking about is the location of them. So energy enters our body from the ground. It goes up, through our systems, through our different energy centers, and then also receives input through our crown, through, this part of our energy body, and then flows back. So there's a hierarchy is maybe not the right word, but there's a direction, okay, and that starts at the root. It starts here at the first chakra. Then the second chakra is our sacral. That's mostly our emotional energy. Our third chakra, that's our willpower. That's our our ability to act, the power and the force that we feel. The heart chakra is here, in our heart region at the center of our chest, defining, how we relate to other people, and also how, things such as love and empathy and intimacy are defined for us. And then we have the throat chakra here, the fifth, which determines, how we are able to express ourselves and our truth. Six chakras is also called the third eye, that links us into our higher perception, into our deeper vision. And then the crown chakra is what links us into the universe, if you will, into divine consciousness. Okay, this is a really, really sort of abbreviated view of energy centers. But you can already tell by just by their properties, that they can have different effects on us. So every week kind of has a different has a different set of energy centers that are most active. So the most active energy centers here for this coming week is going to be our 6th and 7th chakra, so up here. So a lot of mental energies as well, is going to be our heart chakra, which is very nice. That is usually a time where we feel inclined to relate to others a bit more and to be a bit more social. And our 2nd chakra, which is the part that sort of regulates our emotions. And in the crypto market, when this happens, it usually means that there is there's a bit of a fickleness to the market. Okay, so there's things that come in through like what I've called as boring earlier, so there's nothing really happening, and people are looking for these big sort of gainers and return of investment, and they may be inclined to do impulsive reactions, and then they lose money. So whenever our second chakra is involved, it's usually a time when the crypto market goes into pump and dump, which means into a volatility and impulsive reaction. So usually the way this goes, just from the observation here, is that you see the Bitcoin price either going up and then altcoins falling shortly thereafter, and usually having a higher impact on the altcoins, meaning that their prices are more volatile than the Bitcoin prices. So second chakra times are usually pump and dump, and they can also create the fear of loss, and it can also create this like, oh, I've had it, with cryptos, I'm walking out, I'm letting go. So that's a tendency that is coming in next week. Then through our fourth chakra is the integrity part that comes in, and because it's more active, we can feel this more. Okay, so we can relate to things more, and we can at the same time perhaps be a bit more say connected, as we call this, and an energy or a meme, an energy meme, that's coming in when our fourth chakra is active, is JOMO, the joy of missing out, as opposed to FOMO, the fear of missing out, that's more something that gets triggered with the first chakra, but also with the second chakra sometimes. So JOMO is, the joy of missing out, leaning back, just watching things unfold, and being steadfast. Like being connected within, know where your center is, know why you've invested into what you invested to, and not going into this fickleness, all right? And then 6th and 7th chakra, especially the 7th chakra, brings in the larger vision. So we will all feel a stronger connection here to the larger vision of what blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies can do for our world, for the greater good, okay? Not just for us. That would be more 3rd chakra, okay? So what it can do for the greater good, what is the larger vision here altogether, okay? So this is the overall situation. Fickleness, fear of loss, fear of missing out, combined with, if I can just stay centered, if I can just be steadfast and don't give up so easily. We're looking at a technology here that's going to change our world, okay? And we're in the birthing state. So every woman that is planning on having a child or had children knows, these 9 months of pregnancy, can make you become impatient, but there you don't really have a choice, so you can't really, drop being pregnant, you just have to sit this out, and you have to be steadfast and connect with your state, okay? So you want to connect with your why you love cryptocurrencies, let's put it this way, just to simplify it a bit, and combined with the larger vision, also maybe the critical thinking, but with the larger vision of what this technology here is about to do for humanity, okay? So coming to the integrity part and the integrity rating that we look at once more here, there's 3 things that we test. And for those of you who are not familiar with this, we use, for testing, we use a group of people who are trained in energy work, some of which also have a training in remote viewing, some of which have a training in kinesiology. And so it's the results here are based on a numerical scale of based on the map of consciousness from Dr. Hawkins, which sort of measures the energy level. And there are certain benchmarks, certain barriers, one of which is 200, which is the integrity barrier, okay? So when something calibrates at 200 or higher, it's generally based on truth. It doesn't necessarily make it sort of the best that is there, but it makes it at least based on truth, okay? So it's not a scam, okay? When something calibrates below 200, then there's some kind of non-integrous energy in there, somehow incongruent, and that's why we divide the testing into 3 categories, namely as I explained earlier, the token and the investment, then the people behind it, and then also the technology that is being propagated and promoted through it. And once more, these calibrations, these integrity testings or integrity ratings that we do, they are based on this week, which means they can change for a coin, and that's why there's a timestamp on this. So as time progresses, and it looks like people really enjoy this, we will be able to revisit this and then publish this on the Crypto Staffer website. Okay, so the first testing that we've done here for this week is the ICO category, and we've picked QUARKCHAIN. QUARKCHAIN is an infrastructure technology, an infrastructure token. Introduces a very innovative, what's the word? A new technology. And also promotes something that, if I would have to put it into simple words, like energy management. Okay, so it doesn't carry all the data on the entire blockchain the entire time. It divides it into different groups and promotes so-called dApps or dApps. Okay, so it allows for people to segregate specific functions out, so that the verification of this block becomes faster, more scalable, and more reliable. So it sounds good on paper. So what did the integrity rating bring forward here? The level of investment integrity is 216, is over 200, therefore it's generally integrous. Okay, the rating, the integrity rating of the people is slightly lower at 185, and that's like below integrity, which means that the people that are involved in the project are not all maybe really saying the truth about their motivation. So there's a little bit of an but it's based on pride. It's based on, sort of showing the world that they are better, that they have the better technology. So it doesn't mean that's a scam. It just means that there is, a different sort of motivation here, and that is probably something along those lines of superiority. Showing that they have the better technology, which is okay. The white paper and the technology of the project itself calibrates at 210, and that's integrous and based on truth. Also indicates that this is a technology that is being used here that overall promotes the infrastructure of blockchain. So my interpretation of this is that generally QUARKCHAIN, I think, is a good ICO. It's an integrous project, and probably also a good investment. I see a very long-term vision here, so I'm expecting good things to come from this company, okay? However, the team still needs to form. And this is something that we see a lot when we do ICO testings, because at ICO stage, a company is not fully formed yet, and the product doesn't even exist yet in most of the cases. So the rating for ICOs is really just a snapshot of right now. I think QUARKCHAIN is a good opportunity for those of you who are looking for an interesting ICO to invest in. And so here, from our point of view, we can give you sort of a green light. It may not bring the return of investment that you would like to see, or that you've seen in the past, with other ICOs from last year, but these times are kind of over anyway. So with these almost 1,800 tokens that are out there nowadays, it requires us, to do a bit of research and to understand that each of these companies or tokens, introduces new applications and new niches. And, there's not going to be just one in the race. It's just like with sodas. You don't just have one a soda company becoming successful. There's always place for two or three. So don't just look at the best technology. In my personal experience, the best technology is not always the one that makes the race. Okay. As a token, we picked salt as a really cool idea, really, to use cryptocurrency-backed lending, So they've come up with some interesting corporations here in the last couple of months, and their own way of doing credit rating. And basically what it means is that you can borrow money from them, based on your portfolio, based on the actual SALT token, okay, that you are buying from them. And the integrity rating here, and this is very important, hear me out, is based on the business itself, okay? So we have a token investment that calibrates at 196, just below truth level. And this is something, guys, depending on the kind of business, you need to put this into the equation. So lending, okay, money lending, and interest rate charging, is non-integrous per se in itself. So, looking at the bigger picture here, that the kind of business that SALT is in, 196 is actually pretty darn high for the lending business. Okay, if you do integrity testing on banks, you often don't even get over 100. So the interpretation of this is very important. The team, the people that are involved are definitely integrous. They're based on truth. What they're doing is really what they're propagating. They're following through. They're walking the talk, and this is nice to see. Okay, that the team calibrates on 201, truth-based, so it's trustworthy, and the technology in the project itself also calibrates higher than the token, which means their idea and their technology and what they're trying to do here is a good idea. Okay, so overall, the overall rating of 199 just on the truth level, just on integrity. So I would still let this pass as an integrous investment. I think it's a great idea to equalize lending in this way. And there is a very long-term vision with SALT. There is one thing that surprised me a bit, and I had not experienced this with token integrity testing, but there was a very strong overlay, and it's difficult to explain, but the data analysis that we do is based, of course, on the subjective experience of the testers, and that's only due to their training in energy work that they can differentiate this, or their training in remote viewing for that matter. And there's an interesting overlay here of success with SALT. And the way I'm interpreting this, and we'll continue to observe this, but the way I'm interpreting this is that SALT may, not bring in the return of investment for you here within the next year or two, but there is an overlay of a really big success for, the next 2 to 5 years. Okay, so it's definitely an interesting token, to keep an eye on. I started to be interested in SALT last year when they had their ICO, and I didn't even know it, but it's a company that's based in Denver. Yay, just like us. So I wish you guys a lot of success here at SALT. I think the idea is great. Don't take any of this personal. The integrity rating is, is coming from a different place. So this is not an ICO rating like some of the ICO research sites provide. This is more for people here who are only interested in the integrity of their investments. Okay, so the next token, so today we have 2 tokens only because I thought it was interesting really to look at Binance not only as an exchange, but as a token as well, okay? And so we have next up here Binance the Binance token. Okay, let me get this on your screen here real quick so that we're looking at the same thing. So this is the Binance token, meaning you can also buy the Binance token, on a cryptocurrency exchange, and of course on Binance. Okay, so this is something that not everybody knows, but some exchanges also have tokens of themselves. So they're basically funding their own undertaking. And this surprised me. Okay, the integrity rating here of the Binance token is actually looking pretty good. So we have a 203 for the investment, which basically makes it a trustworthy investment. Okay, that's not the surprising part. The surprising part is really the people, the team calibrating at 209, which is trustworthy, and the technology also calibrating relatively high. The project itself, okay, what is being crowdfunded through the coin, if you will. It comes out to an integrity rating here of 206, so it's generally integrous, it's generally trustworthy, and it looks like a really good investment. Okay, so from the perspective of a token, this would be something that you could look and do your own research, of course, as you all know. That's anything that we do here is not investment advice. It's for educational purposes, and also, of course, just for those of you who are curious how some crazy energy workers contextualize cryptocurrencies. All right, and last we have then Binance as an exchange. So here now we're looking at a different part of the company, and we're looking at a different a part of how they're putting themselves out there, the different expression of Binance, and that is Binance as an exchange. So for us as users, the place where we can buy and sell cryptocurrencies. And Binance is one of these popular exchanges because they're extremely fast, they have reasonable fees, and they're super, super easy to use. So a lot of people really like Binance, especially people who are not that tech savvy, and who have a little bit of fear, of this whole sort of technology. So the exchange itself and the safety actually calibrated surprisingly high at 220. So it's not only trustworthy, it's also something that definitely brings in sort of really wanting to serve. Okay, really wanting to serve people, in being of service, adding value. Okay, so that's actually nice to see for an exchange that's relatively high, given the fact that an exchange, of course, that the overall business, just like we looked at the salt lending, is of course, the self gain is money making. Okay, so the people and sort of the organization itself does not calibrate as high. It calibrates at 171. So there's a little bit of a discrepancy here between, the quality of the exchange, and maybe also the software and the technology that they're using and the people behind it. That does not surprise me, though, because if you have an exchange, you need people from the banking industry, from the classical investment industry, which knowingly is non-integrous, to run the whole thing, okay? Because you also need corporations, and you need to work with institutions, and the banking system and so forth. So not really surprising. Comes out to a total of 196. Not bad for an exchange. Okay, safety is okay. I will. I'm a user of Binance myself, amongst some other exchanges, but I think that there's a long-term perspective here with Binance, and similar to what I said about Coinbase last week, if you just accept that these companies, and in this case, this expression of the company is like a bank, Okay, with a different technology though that could, like in salt case, literally increase, the quality and the integrity of the whole banking industry, then, I think you're seeing it in the right way. Yes, someone is commenting here, you sold your salt. I didn't sell my salt. But I did, not sort of go any further into this only because I think that it will take a little longer for salt to really get this, this market acceptance. Okay, so like with many of the technologies and the DApps and the application software that is being introduced, we're still lagging behind in actually using it, and using cryptocurrencies altogether. So this is a part of why I call this here conscious action, because there's some things that if we really want to support this, not just through choosing the investments that we make, but also choosing this whole infrastructure that is being created there for us, and to apply it, we have to start paying things in cryptocurrencies, and if we have a business, accept cryptocurrencies and use these applications. So this is starting to come now. Stay tuned here with this. My last word, as far as like what should I do this next week? Yes. Do research, stay centered. Don't let yourself get pulled into the ups and downs of things. Okay, and maybe heed some of the advice that comes from Wall Street, and that is, if you want to make good gains, you have to buy into fear. Okay, you have to buy into fear, which means not your fear, but you watch the market sentiment, and if it goes into this place of disinterest or fear of loss, when people sell a lot, that's a good moment to buy. The biggest investment mistake that most people do, again, this is not investment advice, this is my observation, is that they buy when the prices go high, because that's a part of our psychology. We want to be on the winning side, we want to gain, a little bit of the gold crumbles. But, someone who is really seeing the long-term vision here of cryptocurrencies and the blockchain technologies, and is centered, within him and herself, and can listen to this intuition, you can use these tips to buy, and make small corrections as you go, and make sure that you are congruent with your investment, because your inner guidance and your intuition will only work for you if you are congruent with the kind of company that you invest in. So if you are, as a person, aligned to truth and integrity, then make sure that the investments that you make here in the crypto market are integrous as well. Okay. I hope you've learned something. I hope this was not too woo-woo for you. I thank you guys for your attention. As always, in the edited version here of the live stream video, I'm going to put some extra info in there. I hope to see you next week, and yeah, make some conscious actions here this week. All right, let's see how it works out. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.